Hello and welcome to the video. For those of you that saw this video recently, you'll know exactly what this is. This is a TBS Mojito. Yes, I can more or less pronounce this one. Some of the other wings have been a little bit trickier, unless you're into your rum-based cocktails. Now this is the new product from Team Black Sheep that is being released at the moment. Now I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's been involved in the creation of this. Team Black Sheep is the ones actually producing and selling this, but there have been lots of people involved in taking this from a concept, an idea in a designer's head into something that's physical. Now in the last video we did an unboxing, I showed you all the different pieces. Mine has come with all the electronics and other pieces in here, and I've actually put mine all together. So I thought, while I've done that, it might be worthwhile showing you how all the pieces have gone inside. Now, caveat before we get too far into this, time codes down below for everything, is that I have built this using my own knowledge and experience. The manual at time of me putting this together hasn't been available. So some of the things that I've done here may be slightly different in the manual. If that's the case, then use the one that you feel most comfortable with. Walksnail in the nose, TBS flight controller and the new power distribution board at the back, and then we have a big chunky ESC and the motor in the back as well. And I've also wired up the air brakes too, and you're going to need those because, as I talked about in that first video, this is a model that's designed to be incredibly sleek and very, very quick and efficient. And that means that it's really fun to fly, but it also means that it's really tricky to slow down. So you do need these things. So I'm going to go through how I've put all the components in, and I'll also go through my preliminary INAV setup. When I do my maiden video, I'll probably go through and just show you if I've tweaked anything for that. So if you want to build your own, you got a rough idea of how mine went together. So let's start at the very front, underneath this capsule, and there are optional 3D printed ones. This was one that's sent to me as kind of a evaluation unit. Hopefully these will be available on the website to kind of download. I haven't used this 3D printed version. I've actually kept this simple version here. It's held in place by 2 screws at each side, and once you remove that, you have this really cute little design which is held in place by another 2 screws, and there's room on here for both the camera and also any video transmitter, HD video transmitter of your choice. Now I've taken the slightly unusual step of just putting the antennas out here. Not potentially the most aerodynamic, but I didn't want to use something like a Menace RC Aeropod or something like that on here, but that is going to work fine. That's the way I have it on other models, things like my Dolphin, and they work incredibly well. And then we have the battery compartment. Not a lot really to see in here at all. The only thing just to point out is that the signal cables for the transmit and receive pair is that white and black cable that's twisted. It's just held in place by a couple of spots of black hot glue that goes into the unit at the front. So I have my on-screen display, and this second bit here is the power supply for the unit. And again, what I've done here is I've used my trick of using a JST lead so that I can power the system once it's ready to fly. The last thing I do over the top of the installed batteries is plug it in like that. That powers the Walksnail unit, stops it getting hot while it's sat. And obviously there is an awful lot of airflow from the nose around the Walksnail unit, so when it's flying it shouldn't get too warm. With that done, then we're kind of into the lion's share of everything, and that is what is under here. This is where an awful lot of the work has gone on. So if I just open this, this is what the stack looks like. The flight controller itself is the kind of that small 20mm mounting quad style, and that then means that by default is kind of set by the cable at the back here that goes from the back of the flight controller into the PDB underneath. That's only sending out the first 4 connections for the first 4 motors, which is what you'd expect in a quad, plus then the voltage and current sensing, as well as also things like the power into the flight controller too. So that's one little cable that you get, that's easy to do. The other thing then is the GPS. The GPS kind of sits on here at the front. It comes with a little sticky pad so you can put it into place. That is connected here. I'll show you this quick diagram of, I just kind of drew this out so I could figure it out. Again, I was doing this in advance of the manual being around. So that's then the main 4 connections and the GPS connected. The other big thing then is that there is an additional riser here by the side of where one of the capacitors fits. This additional riser here is used to get some of the auxiliary stuff out of this flight controller that isn't coming down via this cable at the back, which is those first 4 connections. Specifically, the control for the LEDs, if you have those connected. I don't have LEDs on this particular version, so I haven't done that. The connections for the buzzer, because there is a buzzer on here. You can hopefully just about see that there at the bottom. And also the connections for the S5 and S6, which is actually what's been used to run the ESC here at the back. Those all have to be wired as shown here. Hopefully the cable for that auxiliary connector are right in this diagram, so you can just follow those along. The challenge with this is that the S5 and S6 pads are incredibly small, so you're going to have to use a very fine tip on your soldering iron, a little bit of flux, and also potentially spend a bit of time getting hold of some decent solder, and you should be able to make those off without too much trouble. The last connector then is here at the front. These are the normal 6 pins that would go into some form of HDFPV system. On the PDB at the bottom, there is connections for a VTX and also a camera if you're doing that. I have connected my receiver via S-Bus. Slightly unusual choice, but again, this is just a test setup for me. By default, these 4 pins on the top are designed so that something like a small crossfire module or your Express LRS CRSF style receivers can just be plumbed straight into here. What I've done, which is again slightly different, is I have used the S-Bus and ground from this connector into here, and I've taken the 5 volts to power it from that 5.5 volt pin that's here for the CRSF stuff, and then I've the other 4 connections are the power and ground, and also the transmit and receive set that are the ones that run along here, the battery compartment into the nose. The only other thing then is the power, and obviously the battery power comes in via this lead through one of 2 connections, and that's here onto the power distribution board. Sadly, the GPS isn't powered from the USB, which is on the side of the flight controller. I would recommend, if you're going to put this together, flash and configure the flight controller, make sure it's completely happy, and then just add each piece by piece. The challenge that I've had is that because the GPS isn't powered until you actually have battery power plugged in, it did make it a little bit more complicated. Once you've got that, then we have the pads at the back going off to the ESC, along with the ESC connection and the telemetry. I don't think the telemetry is currently supported in INAV. Again, we'll show the INAV bits in a minute. And then under this back section here, there is the ESC. Now, in terms of the ESC, the way that you need to put it together is the heatsink that comes with it is connected via just a bit of heatsink that goes across the top. So what you do is you have in the kit a little bit of thermal paste, pop that on the high power MOSFETs, put the heatsink on top, a little bit, probably about 1/2 inch, 10 millimeters of heat shrink around it is going to be fine. And then also pop the other capacitor that you get in the kit on there as well. I've made mine so it attaches via an XT60, so if I want to in my playing, I can have it unplugged, and I've also made it so that the wires to connect it are available on a servo connector too. The only other tip I've got for if you're putting it in here is this tail is connected via one big screw that goes here at the back and a catch here at the front. There are also 2 additional little pylons that go down here that you screw into at the bottom. Make sure when you're installing your ESC that you keep it well forward of those 2 extra bits that come down. You need them for stability, but it just means that if you have it too far back, mine was just short enough, then you're going to get in trouble. Just be aware of that when you're putting yours together. Keep your ESC kind of forward in this kind of area rather than too far back, otherwise you're going to get into trouble. But it does mean that if I put the cover on for the flight controller here, you can see that as well as the air flowing through the main cabin, there is this extra scoop that takes air in here around the ESC and then out these 2 exhausts either side, which should keep everything nice. And then at the very back we have the motor and prop setup that goes together very simply. Again, the only thing to be aware of is there is 2 screws that kind of come up here to hold everything in place. One goes all the way through everything into the actual vertical stabilizer. The other one kind of goes through to secure the motor mount. Make sure that when the motor wires are coming through, that they're well away from those two screws, so nothing's going to get pinched. So with that all said, let's plug it into INAV. I'll show you how I've done that. Just be aware that there is a special cable that comes in the kit that has a right angled connection for the flight controller. Once it's installed in here, and again I installed it using double-sided tape, surprise, you are going to have to need to keep this thing handy because it's the way that you can then plug it into the computer. So let me plug it into the PC and show you how I've done INAV. So just before I plug it in, let me just quickly cover two things I forgot in the previous section. First of all is the all-up weight is 1.45 kilograms without batteries, and also the configuration setup of things like the air brakes that are in the wings. I've not shown only because the one that was delivered to me has had the setup improved. So I'll go through the INAV setup here and show you how I've configured everything, but in terms of how that bit's changed, not exactly sure, because again I've not got the final production version here to play with. So here we are plugged in, and we'll click on connect. Now you'll notice that it is 7.1.2 and it's the TBS Lucid flight controller. It has to be 7.1.2 or later because this is where the support for this flight controller was added. If you're on an earlier version, it won't work. We can see here that it's not lying flat on the desk, but that's okay. GPS is telling us that it isn't happy. Nothing in the data flash log because I've never armed this, because this is just the configuration that I've got set up. Also, big thank you to TBS and some of the test pilots over there that have sent some of the settings across to help figure it out. I wasn't entirely sure of how some of the stuff would work, repurposing the first 4 outputs on a flight controller designed for a quad for a fixed wing, and then using the next 2 for motors. So let's go through this standard stuff. You don't understand how to set up INAV. I'm not going to cover that in this video. Check out my INAV for beginners. This isn't a beginner wing by any stretch of the imagination, but hopefully this will kind of give you a clue, if you're familiar with INAV, how it's all going to work. All this stuff in the right hand side needs to be green in order to arm. Of course, navigation is not safe because the GPS isn't powered from the USB cable that I've just shown, so that is giving me a hardware health error. Went through the calibration steps. Mixer is one thing that we need to very quickly look at. You can see here it is set for an airplane, that by default S1 and S2 are the first 2 servos. You can see here that the timer outputs, and the way it works on this flight controller is that the outputs are kind of grouped into sets of 4. The timer 3, which is this first bank of 4 outputs, is set for servos. So that's where all my servos are going to plug in. Servos 1 and 2 are going to be the elevons, and servos 3 and 4 are going to be the brakes out on the wing. And we can see that timer 4 is set for motors, and that then moves the motor outputs onto S5 and S6, which is what is on that additional cable that goes down into the PDB to go out. Down here, all I've done is standard stuff for the 2 outputs for stabilized roll and pitch being connected for both the elevons on both sides, and for 3 and 4 I've added these 2 bits here. I'm just exposing channel 10, which is one of the channels on the radio that I've got connected. When I flick that switch, the air brakes pop up. Be aware that I have changed the speed to 100. 0 means it's as fast as you can. 100 is basically it will take a second for those to deploy. I don't want them to snap up, and that's because the ones I've made here are made out of 3D printed parts. I don't want to stress them overly when I'm flying. I'd like the servo to move in a reasonably controlled fashion. Next one then is outputs. Bit of wackiness in the outputs. DShot 300 is what's been set for the ESC protocol. And then going down here, we can see that I have set the midpoints for both of the elevons, servos 1 and 2. Those are the main control surfaces for the wing. I just plugged them into a servo checker just to see what the values need to be, and just plug them in. Just makes it super easy. You will notice that the rates, however, and this is how it came from TBS, have been increased to 120%. That is because the servos out in the wings don't have a lot of arm because they're actually embedded in the wing. So that's just to try and give you the maximum amount of movement from those control surfaces with the little diddy arms they've had to use to keep it all internal in the wing. Here we have servos 3 and 4. They're the 2 air brakes, one in the top of each wing. And again, I have, using a servo checker, figured out what the maximum and minimum needs to be for each of those and just plug those numbers in here. So those 2 screens with the mixer and the output are where most of the wacky stuff is going on if you're used to INAV. Ports is configured like this. So UART1 is set for MSP display port, so is UART3. One of those can probably be turned off. We have the serial receiver set to UART4. The reason I've got it set to UART4 is that I'm using that S-bus input from what would normally go into a DJI O3A unit or something similar. You have the GPS connected to UART7. Those are those pads that are underneath. So R7 and T7, that is the GPS, running at a 115200. It does seem to be getting a decent lock, even though it's a slightly unusual position for it. I wouldn't normally put it there. This so far seems to be okay. Like I say, I might tweak a couple of things in here before I fly. Don't need 2 MSP display ports running. Configuration is pretty standard stuff. We have the accelerometer and the barometer. Could turn on the virtual pitot tube, but I'm not going to for this. I2C we're not using. I would permanently enable auto launch mode for fixed wing. I'm also turned on continuously trimmed servos for fixed wing. First couple of flights, I want that to happen automatically. And then once it's all trimmed for manual flight, which is, let's be honest, something like this, that's how you're going to want to fly it. You can just kind of turn that off if you're worried about it becoming an issue. I fly with this turned on all the time in all my planes and never had a problem. Fail-safe, well, we're going to want that set to return to home, obviously, because we have GPS and that's INAV. PID tuning we'll come back to once I've done my flying. Receiver is set for S-bus, again, because I'm using that input at the front. Most pilots are probably going to be using CRSF with those 4 pads that are easy to get to on the top of the flight controller. Mode setup is how you would normally do it, and similarly with your on-screen display as well, I've got it set for my standard OSD layout. But with all of this setup, it now means that I'm pretty ready to finalize everything, just maybe do the final couple of little tweaks just to make sure I'm completely happy. And when I am, then we can go to the field, throw this thing and see how it actually flies. So hopefully that's been useful for those of you that were interested after the first video at how this goes together. Again, you don't have to use the TBS electronics in here, but they're kind of designed to go in place. And so far, everything has gone really well for me building it here. Now, do stay tuned. There will be a maiden video and I might tweak a couple of things in the INAV configuration and setup, but I will also kind of share how everything's gone together and how it's all worked in that maiden video, and we'll actually get to see this in action. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Painless 360 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.